co-parenting with a narcissist? The most common question I get is, how do you co-parent with a narcissist? It is unfortunately the most common question I get. And along with this, we have other legal issues that we can run into with narcissists: custody battles, disputes over house, land, business issues, rights violations, and crimes that are committed against us by narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths. So let's establish how we can approach these legal issues when it comes to dealing with narcissists, these abusers. And we know they live for war. So they're really excited about being able to fight us in court. First thing you need to do is examine your reasons. So before you decide, I'm going to take this narcissist to court, I'm going to file for a lawsuit or a divorce, or get them charged with a restraining order, or I'm going to report them to HR, or I'm going to report the crime that they've committed. Before you do this, examine your motives. What are your actual motives? What are your intentions? What are you trying to accomplish in going forward to legal authorities regarding this abusive person that you made the mistake of being in a relationship with? What are you hoping to accomplish? So that's the first thing I want you to examine. Because if your desire is pure, then it could be a good idea to move forward. An example of a pure desire could be that this is a way of establishing your boundaries. It's your job to advocate for your rights. It's your job to stand up for yourself where it's appropriate. And sometimes taking that legal action is a way of just saying to the universe and to this abuser, hey, I'm not going to just allow you to mow all over me and do whatever you want to me. There will be repercussions, and that means I will take this forward. You could be exercising your right to protect yourself, your children, your property. None of that is wrong. But if your goal is to get justice, I would encourage you to think again. If your goal of taking this situation to court is to get justice, I would encourage you to think again. Although we frame the court, I know here in the United States and in many lands, we frame the court system as being the place where justice is served. But don't be naive. Don't have a childlike view of how the court system actually plays out. In real life, there are a lot of extraneous factors that play into what really happens in a court of law. And sometimes justice is meted out, but sometimes it's just not that simple. These are imperfect men and women who are doing, hopefully, their imperfect best at getting a job done. And so there's prosecutors who are doing their imperfect best, perhaps, and there's defending lawyers who are doing their imperfect best. And it's not always going to add up to everything working the way you hope that it's going to work out. Sometimes some of the people involved they're at best imperfect. Sometimes they could actually be cruel or wicked or have malintent themselves. So now you're already dealing with a narcissist who has malintent, and then you go and you involve all of these other people, these lawyers and these judges into the situation, and some of them could also have malintent or be corrupt or be cruel. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but it happens too often for you to have a naive viewpoint going in that you're going to get justice by going and taking things before the police or before lawyers. It doesn't always work that way. So please have a sober-minded viewpoint going into this. That is not a good reason to move forward. Contrary to what your intuition could tell you, it's not a good reason to move forward with the legal case just to get justice. Again, nothing wrong with advocating for your needs, your rights, your wants, protecting your property. All of that is fine. But understand the expectation needs to be set at a realistic level. You want to have a realistic expectation of what you can hope is going to come out of this. Another intention you want to look out for is the intention of revenge. Don't take a narcissist to court to get revenge. Your hopes of paying them back, getting them back for what it is they did, trying to make them suffer for the suffering that they've made you suffer. This is taking something that belongs up there, right? This is like you're taking God's job and then you're trying to put it into your imperfect hands. All right? Let's be modest about our own limitations. It's not possible for us to take the scales and balance them into our own hands. It's unrealistic, and it's not your job to get retribution or revenge for something that someone else did to you. We need to allow the universe to correct itself and to, put the situation on this person that needs to be put. Don't put that on yourself. So revenge is not a good motive to move forward with a legal proceeding. And by the way, it could all turn around on your head, right? Because a legal case, they get their opportunity to fight, and they can tell any lies, and they will, and they can do anything, and they will, right? So you have to think about the influence of position, status, money that they can leverage, the leverage of lying, right? So this could all end badly for you. You are trying to get revenge on another person. That would be not a good reason to move forward. And by the way, even if you got what you wanted and they had to pay money or had to go to jail, it doesn't mean you would feel satisfied. Revenge doesn't make a human happy. So let's recognize what our true motive is. Trying to prove they're a bad person, it's kind of along the same lines. Again, not your job. You're worried too much about what other people are thinking. You're acting like other people's opinions is the authority in life. You don't need to try to beat your narcissist in the court of law or in the court of public opinion. It's a fight that's not worth fighting. So examine, first of all, why you're doing it, because you may feel that it's not even necessary to move forward in your case. But again, there are pure reasons to move forward. When it's criminal things, as long as it's not about revenge, there could be some cases where this is someone that you feel is legitimately dangerous and so violent or so vile of a criminal that they need to be reported and hopefully moved off of the street. But again, we can't have an expectation that things are going to get handled in one particular way. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So if you're in a situation where you're co-parenting with a narcissist, the reason you ask how to co-parent is because you're trying to say, I have children with this narcissist and now we're split. That's what you're trying to say. But you're using the wrong term, because co-parent would mean that two people who have decided not to be in a romantic relationship with themselves have otherwise gotten together and are able to discuss almost in a professional manner how they will proceed so as to protect the children and make sure the children still have an abundance of love and resources on both sides. That's co-parenting. This is not possible with a narcissist. So your question of how to co-parent with a narcissist, the answer is you can't. It's impossible. That co means there's cooperation. Like you're doing it together. That's what co means. You can't do that with a narcissist. You're not going to do this together, right? You're not going to lock arms like, come on, they don't have the ability, or they don't demonstrate the capability to speak in a way that is peaceful. They are not cooperative. They are belligerent. They are cruel. They are seeking vengeance. They are looking to harm you. They want to prove themselves as better than you. And so they see the children as a pawn in the fight from the very beginning. Like the very beginning, like when it's born and they see that you love that child, they now see that child as a point of leverage. So that's what you need to understand. So you can't co-parent with someone who sees the child as a point of leverage, right? So this is why I encourage you to look up the concept of parallel parenting. because that's more what you want to aim for, which is no, we're not doing this together, but you have your days and your weeks and your times, and I have my days, my weeks, and my times. We do things differently, but my boundaries are intact, and boundaries need to be intact 100%. So when I tell you that I recommend you go no contact with your narcissist, this doesn't matter who the narcissist is in your life, what position they have, and it certainly doesn't make them exempt because they're the mother or father of your children. You should still go no contact with them. The problem here is that obviously you can't, perhaps a lot of times legally, completely ignore their existence because they have rights over your child, right? In which case, you would only have the contact that is absolutely necessary. You would only have the contact that is absolutely required by law. And you're still no contact other than that. Does that make sense to you? So your mindset should still be, I'm no contact with this person, but my children have another 10 more years of dependency. And so for 10 more years, I will keep up the required contact with this other entity, this narcissist. But to me, I'm no contact with them. That should be your mindset. That's the healed mindset. That's the way to stay healed. You need to give them as little influence in your life as possible. So let me give you some general do's and don'ts as you're going through this situation. And generally, this is a legal situation. So the legal aspects need to be handled by consulting a lawyer. People who are professionals in the law. I'm here to help you to navigate the emotional aspect and the social dynamic aspect, strategy-wise, of dealing with someone who is your opponent, not in a legal sense. They're your opponent in a universal sense, because there's a huge spiritual and energetic warfare that's happening with this person. And so that's what I'm here to help you to navigate. So I advise that you don't talk directly one-on-one with the narcissist. If there needs to be any communication, then you have to handle communication by text message or email. Why? Or snail mail. Why? Because everything needs to be in writing. Why? Because that protects you. That protects you. It slows them down in their abuse and in their manipulation when everything they have to say to you needs to be pre-written or written down in a text, gives you record of everything. It slows down your need to respond. So this helps you to mitigate your own stress. Does that make sense? Everything with any narcissist, if you have to have communication, break them down to having to do it via text or having to do it via email. If they have to do a live conversation, do it with a witness present, a mediator, or somebody who can be present, who is mature, who has a degree of authority. This is so that the narcissist cannot abuse you. You are protecting yourself. This is to slow them down in the abuse. They'll still take any opportunity perhaps, but we want to slow them down in their abuse. Okay? So don't talk directly one-on-one with the narcissist. Anything they have to say to you is a manipulation anyway. So you might leave the door open and say, okay, you can text me, but only if it's about our son. They will use that as a way of getting you to talk about other things. So pay close attention. Become a detective. That's why having it in writing lets you slow it down and analyze everything. Because they'll say things like, I really wish our son had a full family together, but since the decision you made, now our son doesn't get to have a full family together. You see how that he cleverly disguised a dig at you and your choice to leave him as a discussion about the son. Did you see that? How subtle that was? I'm just so sad that our son doesn't have a family, but the decision you made was wrong. You see, he actually used it as an opportunity to emotionally abuse you. This is why I need you to slow everything down and have him put it in writing. So now as you read that, you can dissect it and realize, hey, this has nothing to do with our son. So then you can reply back and say, please kindly only speak to me regarding something with our son that needs to be communicated. I'm not interested in your feelings. Bam. Now what do? We set up that boundary, that wall. That's how you communicate. You shut down every time they try to weasel around the situation to talk about feelings. You say, oh, you're talking to me about your feelings. I'm only interested in you talking to me about our son. And you shut it down. You call it out. Everything in writing. That's why we're slowing things down so that they can't just sit and abuse us. Now remember, the narcissist views the children as a point of leverage. And all narcissists are different when it comes to children. Some of them are not in their child's life at all. Some of them want to be very involved with the children. Some of them are at varying intervals in between this, depending on where they live. There's a lot of different scenarios. But here's something I'll give you to help you understand. Narcissists, unlike us, realize right away that relationships are transactional. They look for the leverage immediately. This is an advantage they have because this is how the world runs. Relationships are transactional. Points of leverage do exist. So they're immediately looking for the points of leverage. What leverage is something they can use against you to control you. What leverage is something they can use. Can you see how a child that you love can now be used as something to control you? If you want to see your child again, you'll do A, B, and C. You see how that can be used to control you? To that end, understanding that, good strategy would dictate that you don't divulge to the narcissist how you feel about those children. Again, understanding that the narcissist uses it as a point of leverage. Strategy would dictate then you don't divulge how important having these children is to you. You don't tell the narcissist, I just want the kids. Most important thing to me is the kids. I'm worried about the kids. If you tell the narcissist that the most important thing to you is the kids, what do you think is going to be the main point of fighting for the narcissist? What do you think the main thing is that the narcissist is going to fight for? Custody of the children. Why? Because now he's got something to mess with you. They're always looking for the point of leverage. This isn't a male or female thing. This is a narcissist thing. All narcissists think the same way, as well as psychopaths. They think the same way. So it's very important that you don't divulge that the kids are important. Some have even tried to throw the narcissist off of the path by making statements that will confuse the narcissist in not knowing that the children are very important to you. Such as, well, one good thing with all of this is that I'll be able to get some weekends for myself, because hopefully you'll be able to take care of your share of these children, because I don't want to have them all the time. You see how in making a statement like that, I've now thrown the narcissist off the path, because I just made it seem like the way to punish me is to make me have to take care of the kids. Are we paying attention here? Are we taking notes? You have to make it seem like the one thing you don't want is to have to take care of the kids, because then the narcissist will try to punish you by making you have to get the kid, making you have all the custody of the children. And so you talk about, man, it's going to be nice to have some freedom and some free time, you know. The narcissist will be like, no. You're not getting any free time. You're going to have to watch these children. And then, yes, you won the war because you know that you are actually trying to get these children away from them. As smart as it seems like narcissists are, they're not smart enough to understand love. They don't understand that you love the kids because they don't have that same type of love for the kids. So they're watching your cues. This is what you must get. They don't know how to feel. They're watching your cues searching for your emotions. And then when they see something's important, you say, well, I need money. Money? Well, you can't have any of that. You go, I want custody of the children. Children? No way. No way. You understand? This is the developmental level of a 4-year-old. Selfishness. Mine. Right? That's how the narcissist thinks. So understanding that, never telegraph your true interests, your true aims, your true values, because everything is a values war, because they're looking for points of leverage to use against you. Understand that you can't control other people's actions. So you can't control what the judge decides, for instance. So don't become caught up in, well, what is the judge going to come up with? What is he going to say? What is he going to decide? How is this all going to turn out? You need to do your meditation, your anti-anxiety work, the JOT method. Work with your trauma specialist to manage your anxiety and get your mind off of what you cannot control, which is what the narcissist is going to do, how they're going to go behind your back, what the lawyers are doing, what the judge. You can't control that. You control your communication with your lawyer, and I do recommend all communication goes through a lawyer. I don't recommend you communicate one-on-one with the narcissist. Generally speaking, don't do anything illegal or underhanded. I do make an exception for this. My recommendation to you, and I'm not a legal professional, but my recommendation for you as a trauma specialist is record everything. That's why I want everything in writing. Record everything. If it's not in written form, then have your phone. There's apps where you can hit record on your tape recorder app, and it will just record in the background, record all the noise. So however you justify this to yourself, you can say, I'm just recording myself in the car and I just forget to turn it off as I go in. Record everything. Why should you record everything when it comes to meetings with the narcissist, mediations with the narcissist, phone calls, anytime the narcissist comes to your house, is around you? Why should you record everything? Despite the fact that in your particular state, municipality, they could have a law against it. This recording is not for you to use as evidence against the narcissist. The recordings are for you. The reason why I want you to record everything is because it makes you ungaslightable. When you have a recording, you can go back and listen. It's just for private use only. And you can hear how you responded, what you said, so that no one can tell you, oh, you said this. And you can hear what they said, and you can break down how they were manipulating you so that they can't say, no, I never said that. It's for you. It's for your mental health and well-being. It's for you to have the satisfaction and the proof of knowing this is what's really happening. This is what they really said. You understand? You can share this with your legal advocate, but this is not for use, and it's not even probably admissible on a legal level. This is not so you can trap them with this recording and show it to someone. That's not what it's for. You need it for you, so you can keep track of what's being said, what was being arranged, what was being promised. And there's no reason if you want to tell people and tell even the narcissist, just so you know everything's being recorded, go ahead. That's fine. That's fine. The purpose of the recording is not a trap. The purpose of the recording is to protect you. And sometimes when a monster realizes they're being recorded, especially a covert monster, then they start acting differently, which is a protection for you. That's why it was always nice to have guests over the house, because it was a protection for you, because they would act differently. So having witnesses there, having recording, if you didn't get it tape recorded, sit down and take detailed notes directly after an interaction. We need recordings of everything. This is for you. It gives you peace of mind and allows you to have solidarity of memory. You don't have to be gaslit anymore. The technology is all too good and too readily available for you to sit around trying to argue about, oh, this is what happened. We don't have, no argue. When you know, and that just gives you a calm, it gives you a confidence of just knowing, I know. I listened to the last conversation. I know exactly what was said. I have a whole recording of it. Just to know that in your head is good for you. You understand? So you can find your ways around the legality of that, but this is what I recommend for you. Some of us, though, have concerns about our children, and that's really what they mean when they ask, well, how do I co-parent with a narcissist? It's not a legal question. They're worried about their children perhaps mirroring the patterns, their children having pain, their children being affected by this marriage or this divorce that they're going through. So let me speak to this for a moment. If you're concerned about your children mirroring the patterns of the narcissist, your concerns are unfounded. Having a narcissistic parent does not make us a narcissist. If it did, instead of having like 100, we have like about 150 people listening right now. 150 of us would be narcissists because almost all of us here had narcissistic parents. You understand? Having a narcissistic parent doesn't make you a narcissist. So don't worry so much that your child is going to mirror the narcissist because they have the narcissistic parent. That's not really how it works. Some children of narcissists do become narcissists, though. Some do. It's not because their parent was a narcissist. It's because that's how they respond to trauma. And the trauma that they're experiencing at the hands of the narcissist is going to be some sort of abuse, emotional neglect. So them not getting their needs met, them not getting love, they find a way to cope, and then they do that split from childhood, from their trauma, and drop the empathy, and then they become the narcissist. Some children do that. This is not something that you can predict who's going to do it, and there's no proof anywhere that you can prevent it. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But what you can do is model empathy for your child in everyday life. You can model empathy for your child in everyday life. This gives them the best fighting chance at hopefully not becoming too narcissistic as a child themselves. You're modeling empathy toward the child. You're showing them how to model empathy. You're modeling empathy in other situations. For instance, you can take a situation in real life. Let's say an animal gets hit by a car, or a situation on television where someone or something dies, and then you can discuss your emotion with the child, modeling empathy. Isn't that so sad what happened? You know, that makes me cry, blah, blah, blah. Like you're showing that empathy. This doesn't have to be done all the time. Most children, this is natural. But if you feel like your child might be kind of going down that narcissistic route, the best thing you can do is try to teach them empathy as well as high moral standards, morality. Teach them to be guided by moral principles that are higher than their own selfish needs and desires. Again, is there any proof that you can prevent a child from becoming a narcissist? No. But there's also no proof that they will become one because they have a narcissistic parent. If you're concerned about the child's pain, well, I feel bad for the child. They're going to be in pain now because I'm splitting from this narcissist. First thing, don't do the I'm staying for the children. Dead that. I'm staying for the children. I'm staying with my narcissistic spouse for the children. Because what no kid has ever said is, my parents were unhappy together, but they stayed together for me. And as a result, my childhood was wonderful. And I love this for me. I love this decision that they made to give up their own health, to give up their own happiness, to give up on love. For me, that was great. No child has ever said that. All of the emphasis that you put on the child getting good grades, but then meanwhile, you're modeling bad relationship with your children. You're modeling bad boundaries for your child by staying with the narcissist. And essentially, you're telling the child, if you ever have an abuser, stick around and take the abuse. Make every excuse to stick around and be abused. Making sense? You don't stick with your abuser for the children. You're not doing them any favors. What survivors have said is, I wish my dad would have left my mom. I wish my mom would have left my dad. That's what survivors do say. Believe it or not, they actually wish there was the divorce. It doesn't mean divorce isn't traumatic. Divorce is traumatic for many children. But what's also traumatic is seeing your parents sleeping in 2 separate bedrooms, seeing your parents can't get along, hearing the arguments, hearing the fights, hearing the screaming, watching your mom just be controlled by your dad, watching your dad be an enabler to the addict mom. All that's traumatic too. But that's ongoing complex trauma. With the divorce, you get the one traumatic event and then you can heal. So please understand, you're not doing your kids a favor necessarily by saying, I'm going to stick around and I'm going to do it for them. Don't expect them to thank you. Sabby says, my dad is a narcissist. I wish my mom would have done more to protect us. Correct. When I was a kid, I told my dad on multiple occasions, why don't you leave mom? I wish you should just get a divorce from mom. That's what I said as a kid. And he told me, you don't understand. You're just a kid. That's what my dad told me. Now, he was my stepdad, so I need you to play this out in your head. This means that if he would have divorced my mom, my stepdad, who was the enabling parent and therefore the more lovable parent, would have left me, I would have ended up with the narcissistic mother. And I still felt like he needed to divorce my mom. I still encouraged him to divorce my mom, despite the fact that I would lose him. That shows you how bad it is from a kid's perspective. This is something a child is saying. I don't look back as an adult and think, I understand now, Dad. No, I look back like, you still haven't divorced her? You guys are still together? Right? You understand? Here's the reality. If my dad would have made the choice to stand up and say, you know what, enough is enough, there's going to be consequences here. I'm leaving or I'm divorcing or whatever. Wow, that might have taught me how to not be a codependent man myself and then not end up in a relationship with a narcissist myself. It might have saved me heartache. And for some of us, it's the same thing. If our parents would have stood up and set a boundary or set some really firm boundaries and enforced those boundaries by leaving, then it could have actually been helpful for our development. In whatever case, whatever decision you make, don't think that staying for the children is really for the children. You need to focus on doing things that are going to be beneficial for yourself as well as the children. You are equally as important as them. So being worried about the pain that the child is experiencing, please understand the mistake has already been made. It's too late. You already chose to have children with the narcissist. So sitting here now and being like, oh no, but I'm too afraid about the pain. Right now you have to do what needs to be done now. The mistake has already been made. Right? So as a parent, if you accidentally harm your child, which most parents do because we're imperfect, right? So you did something, you let their hand slip or something, they fall down, they scrape their knee or something, you made a mistake. And you go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But do you just sit there for the next several hours going, oh, I'm so sorry, and not help the kid get a Band-Aid, not help the kid get any medical attention, not help the kid to get better? You just keep apologizing? No, eventually, okay, I'm sorry, okay, but let's move forward to solve this problem and mitigate the pain. Likewise, that's how you need to move right now with your concern with how the child's affected, your concern with the child's pain. You need to snap out of the, I'm concerned with the child's pain, and get into the, here's what we're gonna do moving forward. Here's the actions that I'm gonna take. Focus on what you can control. That's the most important thing. Focus on what you can control. Some of us are worried that the child is going to get brainwashed by the other parent. Maybe we're seeing it happen. Maybe the other parent has a smear campaign. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the smear campaign. You can't control what the other parent, what the narc parent tells a child. You control what you tell the child. So tell the child the truth. Always be honest with the child. That means being forthright. Don't make a policy like I'll never say anything negative about the other parent, because how can you live up to that when the other parent is an abuser? You need to condemn sometimes what an abuser does. So you need to be able to say, yeah, I heard your mom yelling at you. You know, I don't think that you need to be yelled at like that. I don't think that that was the way that it should have been handled. Or you said your dad hit you? Okay, well, if that's the case, then I don't like that. I don't want anyone hitting you. And you don't hesitate to let me know or let a guidance counselor know if your dad ever lays a finger on you. And by speaking to the children like this, it's not bashing the other parent. It's simply condemning the wrong action, letting them know, hey, I have empathy for you as an individual, and there's certain things that we don't tolerate, that I don't feel are right, and I will speak up and speak out against things that are not right. So it's okay to say to the children, hey, you know, the what you just told me, or the way I just witnessed your dad doing this and that, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's right. And I'm sorry that that happened. And here's what we're going to do moving forward. And you don't hesitate to let me know if this continues. And I may have to go and tell the lawyer. Does that make sense? Don't shy away from telling your children the truth. You can tell them the truth. You can educate your children. You can even teach them psychology terms. Just don't encourage them to go and take these terms and go tell their narcissistic parent that they're a narcissist. Don't ever tell the children, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't put yourself in harm's way with that sort of those sort of actions. But I'm letting you know so that you understand what's happening and what these abuse tactics are. I'm letting you know. Not just for this relationship with your dad, but for any relationship that you go into in the future. I want you to know. I want you to learn. And these are things that I'm just learning now, so I'm telling them to you. Be honest. You can be honest with the kids. So, by review, communication needs to be no contact virtually, but bare minimum as to what's required by law. You can use third-party apps or have a mediator, person in between. So protect yourself. You still have to protect your energy, even though this person shares children with you. And make sure that the only communication is what's absolutely required by law. If you get that full custody, which I sure hope you do, then you're ghost, man. You don't have to talk to them at all. But even if you do have to for a little while, understand that this is temporary. This is temporary until the kids are old enough where this is not necessary anymore. And move forward. Don't stay in regret. Don't stay in regret over your past decisions. That's not helping. It's not helping. Don't stay apologetic about your past decisions. It's not helping. Don't become the depressed parent that's too weak, too sad about what happened, about life, about the abuse that she's undergoing, that she is too despondent to be able to focus on the children when she has them, to be able to spend time and show up for the children emotionally. Don't do that either. When you have your time with your kids, you focus on those kids. You be there for them. You be present. But overall in life, your main focus needs to be your purpose, and let your kids witness a strong woman or a strong man who focuses on purpose and achieves something that they can be proud of.